Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Belief Cast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires Belief Cast. As always, thank you for tuning in week after week and for all your support. It means the world to me. We're helping so many people, and I'm grateful for the comments that you guys send and for the people who have really benefited from these amazing guests that I bring on. As you guys know, it's not about Todd. It's about these amazing people that show up on my podcast, and today's going to be no different. It's just I can't believe how many amazing people are out there. I just think people in general are astonishing, and we're going to learn about this really cool guy named Dave Phillippy. Dave, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, this is really exciting for me too.
Okay. Before we get to Dave, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors, Wasatch Recovery, Craig Swap and Associates, Maury Nutrition, Thread Wallets, and the music you heard at the beginning and at the end of this beautiful podcast is the music by my good friend Paul Cardall. He's an award-winning pianist. He's got 25 million active listeners every month. He's got an amazing story himself. He's been on my podcast a few times. So thank you, Paul, for letting us use your amazing music. It really brings a great spirit to this whole thing, and I love you for it. So thank you. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. And again, we got Dave Phillippy here. He's the current CEO and part owner of Micro Plus, a company dedicated to creating highly effective nano-nutritional supplements for health and wellness. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute. Dave, life has been a series of obstacles. Well, there's been a lot going on in your life. You've been through a lot. But you're very successful. Like, people would look at you now and go, man, this guy's got it all. He's doing great things. You know, you're married to your wife. You got 2 awesome kids, and you know, you work with my best friend, Mike Pratt.
I know him by Sean.
Yeah, I know Sean Pratt, but I love him. He's been a lifelong friend and always will be. And he obviously speaks the world of you. Hmm. And I'm just glad you're here. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So why don't we start, Dave? Just tell us where you grew up and maybe a little bit about your family and childhood.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a town called Palmyra, Pennsylvania. Probably nobody ever heard of it, but I'm sure they heard of the town next to it, which is Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey, yeah.
So I was right next to Hershey, and my parents are still around. They're in their 80s, and a funny story, I was born almost 60 years ago. I'm going to turn 60 in a couple of months. And my parents moved into the house they're still in 60 years ago.
Wow.
So I think they paid $13,000 for their house and took a 30-year mortgage on it. So how many people do you know that have lived in the same house for 60 years?
I don't think any, honestly.
It's interesting, and the house has changed over the years. But I have an older brother, an older sister, and a younger sister as well. And then I have my wife, who's a nurse. I've been married to her for 33 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. And my son, Zachary, he's 28 now. His girlfriend is Bailey. And then I have a daughter, Allison, who's 26.
Nice. So what was it like growing up, for you? What kind of things were you into? And kind of go there a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting. I probably have a different story than a lot of people, but it was rough for me, honestly, growing up until graduation. I had self-worth issues big time. I felt like I was a nobody. I had a brother who graduated summa cum laude. He has his PhD in mathematics, of all things. Just kind of growing up, I sensed that he was good and I was bad, and I gave myself that label. And so I really struggled, had very few friends, was kind of quiet, didn't do a whole lot of activities. As a matter of fact, I was doing wacky things then, right? Like, I was trying to kind of build on that story that I'm worthless. I would do things like take during an exam, I'd write my name on it and put 0 at the top and hand it in and not even try to take the exam. Yeah. So I was just in trouble then.
So you're going to prove to yourself you're not good enough.
That's exactly what I mean. I would do crazy things, like my parents had me play the trumpet, and I'll never forget that we had a concert one time, and I purposely didn't take my trumpet so my parents and I arrived at the concert, and they were like, "Where's your trumpet?" And I go, I didn't bring it. And so I was always in trouble.
And you did that on purpose?
On purpose, yeah. Wow. So it's I don't know that I understand it fully, but that was kind of how life was for me. And I labeled myself as, I'll never be good enough. Nobody wants to hear from me. And that's kind of how I lived my life up through graduation.
Interesting.
So
did you get in like bigger trouble too, or is it just more of doing that kind of stuff, or did you get in trouble with like at school and with the law, that kind of stuff?
Well, I never did drugs. I never was into alcohol, so didn't get into that kind of stuff. But, I definitely, I shouldn't be here. Some of the things I've done during those, I outran the police one time. And so I was 16 years old. And actually, this is kind of the only thing that people would label me cool for in school. So this is a cool story.
Yeah,
so
let's hear it.
I was driving in a 1972 Ford Torino station wagon, and it was known as the war wagon, right, around town. But I was coming, and I went through 2 stoplights, and there was a policeman sitting facing the opposite way, and I went through 2 stop signs without stopping, and he turned his lights on, right? So at that moment, I made a decision. I'm going to outrun him, right? Which is stupid.
In the war machine.
So I take off, and he's working his way, turning around to chase me. And this is no lie. So I come up to a road where tons of traffic is coming, and I pull out in front of him, which bought me some time. So he got kind of stuck. So I'm flying down the road, and here's where it was kind of cool. A guy I graduated with heard this on the police scanner and lived along there. So he came out and saw the whole thing. So I'm flying down the road, and they literally set a roadblock up for me down the road.
Dang.
But I ended up taking a cutback turn that nobody expected. I wrecked into a field, but somehow I was able to it was at night, so I was able to get off to the side of the road, turn my lights off, and the policeman kept going straight because he was no way would anybody take the cutback, and I was able to get away from him. So the guy I graduated with told everybody at school that I outran the police. And that was my one claim to fame, I guess, as I was growing up. But other than that, yeah, I was the black sheep, right? It's like no matter what I did, I was always in trouble from a grounded,
Yeah.
I graduated high school with a 2.0 average. So, and I could have done way better than that.
Yeah.
It was like, I just did what it took to get by.
Yeah. Did your parents ever try to intervene in the sense of trying to get you some help? Because obviously they were witnessing you struggling and, but they probably didn't know, I'm assuming, that they didn't know that you were like, man, I just don't think I'm good enough and no one likes me and I don't even like myself.
Yeah.
Did they know any about that, or were they just trying to like, what's your problem? And
it's a great question. And I think my dad grew up in that era where he had one form of discipline, and it never worked on me, but he stuck with it the whole way. So I know they tried to help me in their way. I grew up in a loving home. It was more me and how I was coping with things. But no, I mean, he kept thinking, spank him, discipline him. That was going to get him through it. And that never worked with me. So that just put me deeper into a spiraling into a negative outlook on life.
Just kind of made it a little worse for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you struggle with like depression, things like that as you were growing up?
I did. And I was thinking when I was coming on this program, feeling a little inadequate because you have, incredible stories on here, right? Of people. And when you're coming on this program, it's like, what is my story? And I realized my story, everybody has a story, right?
Yeah,
you have a story, I have a story. Yeah. And there were times I thought about killing myself, right? It's hard, I think, growing up, especially with that kind of view about yourself. So yeah, I definitely thought about doing some bad things during those times.
Yeah. And I think anyone listening to this, if we look back in our childhood, everyone goes through, like you said, challenges and struggles, some worse than others, depending on, and I look back on my childhood, and my biggest problem was just the story I was telling myself about me. The story was, again, kind of similar to yours. I'm not good enough. I'll never make it. No girl's ever going to want to date me. I'm too skinny. I look funny. I mean, the list went on, right? And so I think we all struggle with that narrative growing up. And I think that's part of the process of life is we're trying to find who are we really. And some of us, unfortunately, still struggle with that even as adults, right?
Right.
But did things start to get better for you as time went on, or did you struggle? Did this continue even after high school?
No, I think something clicked in me, and I think it was spiritual. I mean, I know it was spiritual. Once I got out of high school, I really started coming into my own, and things started clicking for me. I got in good shape. I was really good at tennis and volleyball and ping pong. I was hard to beat at. So I started really doing really well. I started my career with Hershey Foods, which I worked there for 17 years. And I was known as Golden Boy, right? I'd run with the executives at lunch, and just things were really clicking for me. And a lot of it was, just getting back to faith and having hope in my faith. And so,
talk about that for a minute, because I think that's important for people to understand. Talk about faith and what that means to you, and why that was so important.
Good question. To me, it's everything. And when you think about life in general, and you're trying to figure out purpose, and you're trying to have hope for the future, I don't know how to do it without having faith in God and the ultimate future for me. To me, this is a journey we're on, and it's a short journey, right? Life is short, but the bigger picture, and kind of what you're doing, Todd, which is making a difference. I want to be part of something. I think the shift for me was I want to be part of something where I'm making a difference in the world. And I listened to a bunch of your podcasts, and your story back to the lemonade stand made an impact on me, just kind of thinking about being on with you and serving, right? Isn't that where you get most of your fulfillment out of? Totally. Is in serving others? So my shift went from self-deprivation to let's get a purpose for life and try to make a difference while I'm here.
I love that. Now, my listeners are going to laugh because I say this a lot on my podcast, but because you're talking about this and about serving others and making a difference in people's lives, I was doing a group therapy session up here at Wasatch, and we had, 16 people up in there. And one of the assignments was I just went around the room and said, everyone stand up and just say something that's on your heart today. I don't care what it is. Just if it's good, bad, negative, I don't care. Just whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Well, this guy stands up and says this statement. And I was so touched by it and so blown away that I put it to my memory. And here's what he said. I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's powerful.
And that's what when he said, I'm like, dude, where'd you get that? He's like, man, I don't know. He goes, that still was on my heart today. I'm like,
and that quote came from him?
Well, there is someone, I don't know who actually said it, so I apologize. I should reference that. But I heard it from this client.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's his own version of the quote. And I was just blown away. But he said that's really made a difference for him. Just like you said, Dave, that for him, what helped him through his addiction and his struggles was he finally got to a place where he wanted to help other people. So I love that you said that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So you said you started your career at Hershey Foods, right?
Yeah.
And talk about that, they're making, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
It's what we think it looks like.
It was an awesome time for me and just a wonderful career there. Just as a side note, if you ever get to Hershey, Pennsylvania, there's a Milton Hershey Museum where there's a Phillippy section there because my grandfather and other relatives are part of the team that made the Hershey Kiss wrapping machine. And so
Really?
there's a whole section on the Phillippines, and it's a really cool company. Milton Hershey is one of the largest foundations in the world helping foster kids,
Really?
that don't have parents. They have homes
Wow.
all over the town for them.
That is
if you ever
amazing.
get a chance, look up that story. But yeah, I had a great career there. And interesting, this kind of ties to my challenges. So 17 years, right? I built into this company.
Jeez.
And I went on my 10th year wedding anniversary with my wife to Bermuda. And when I got back, they had hired a division leader who wasn't the nicest person. But when I got back, of course, things fell apart while I was gone. And she met me at the door with her finger in my face saying, "You will never take another vacation again unless I personally approve it." And I was like, "I'll see you later." So 17 years, and just like that, my career was over with Hershey Foods. Because, back
Really?
to, I definitely had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder then. I just would not let people talk to me that way at that stage. And so that ended my 17-year career with Hershey's. And now I'm out of work, but it's what led me to Utah. So a friend of mine left Hershey's. We worked together and started a candy company out here in Utah. And he asked me to come out and join him and help him run the company. So that's what brought me in 2002 to Utah.
Yeah. And was it a startup?
It was a startup.
It was a startup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you are putting on your, entrepreneurial hat, and
It's
if
way
you will.
different. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're working for a big company,
So
you don't
different.
have to worry about much except for the area you're responsible for. When you're leading a startup, every dime,
Yep.
every decision matters, right? And it's a lot tougher.
How challenging was that transition?
It was pretty challenging but rewarding. And I think as I look back on my career, learning big business and the entrepreneurial small business side are what kind of aided me in becoming a really good problem solver. I think I look at things. It's funny, throughout my life, I always seem to be the one who looks at things a little bit different. I have a different perspective on it, which has been key in moving things forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously your experience from working in that big corporation, obviously, seeing how everything kind of works, I'm sure translated so well. You do come from a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of people, I think sometimes when they're in a startup, that they're new to it as well. They don't have much maybe experience or whatever. So you came with a ton of experience.
Right.
So I'm sure what an asset that was.
It really propelled us. And then we also got my partner and I got the licensing agreement with Hershey that allowed us, we had the only licensing agreement in the world that allowed us to take Hershey product and repackage it into giftable items. So that was really cool too.
Yeah. Well, I know your life has taught you that you can do hard things. You've been through a lot, like we said before. I love that, your current mindset is, you want to have a strong faith, positive outlook. You're someone who always has a plan. You like to plan things out. I want the listeners to know that a lot of that stems from, you're dealing with a current issue right now, Parkinson's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that for a minute, and when you found, maybe how you felt when you found this out, and how are you dealing with this on a daily basis at this point?
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I think before I answer that, I'll take a step back because there was some pre-issues I've had to go through.
Sure, let's talk about those.
So I think the first thing I went through in my 30s, I was diagnosed as needing a hip replacement.
In your 30s?
In my 30s.
Dang.
And so, quick side story. It's like, I always say to my mom, I go, am I really my dad's kid? Because I'm bald. My brother has a full head of hair. He's running marathons. I'm getting hip replacements, right? So in a funny way, I go, I'm Fred Gowdy's kid, ain't I? He was like the local pool manager. So I say, what was going on there? I'm not sure. But so I needed a hip replacement, held off for a while, but I had to get a total hip replacement pretty young.
Yeah.
That was rough. And then I had a really bad biking accident. I was coming out of American Fork down a canyon. Don't even remember it. But I ended up having some accident, and I broke over 20 bones in my upper body. I broke my collarbone. Still sticks out. I broke my sternum, both elbows, both wrists, ribs. It was a mess. And so that was devastating for me and hard.
Probably thankful you don't remember it, meaning in the moment you obviously blacked out of the pain. And
yeah. I mean,
dang.
I only have one recollection of it, and I remember sitting there. I had one of those iPods, and I remember sitting there, and I couldn't get it. It was out there, and I was like, why can't I get that thing? And then people found me walking my bike back holding the iPod. Like, what? So somehow I picked up. I didn't have anything with my legs broken. It was all upper body.
But still,
stuff.
though,
yeah,
to be able to be walking.
And I was waving to people, and it was like I had no idea what
Total
was
shock.
going on. Total
Wow.
shock. But then, after that, and probably would help to talk about my career, but I was working out in California, and I was the chief operating officer at a big camping and conferencing center in the giant redwoods. It was beautiful. And we had 2 zip line courses on there, and I oversaw all the operations. And one of the mornings I remember getting up, and I was like, I can't lift my legs right? Something's funky here. And I was having trouble lifting my feet. It was, it wasn't major, but it was enough that you could notice.
Something was going on, yeah.
And so a year went by where that started getting progressively worse. And finally I went in and they diagnosed me with Parkinson's disease. So, that was back to one of the toughest, everybody has things they're dealing with, but that was pretty tough because,
And how long ago was this? When
this was
happened?
2017.
Okay.
So but then some other funky things started happening where, do you know what a dystonia is?
I've heard of it. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, so all of a sudden my head started going back uncontrollably. And so it got to the point, Todd, where if I didn't wear a hat and hold my head, I'd be like this all day.
Really?
I couldn't control it. And so the way they treated that is right now, and I just had this happen on Monday. Every 3 months, I got to get 25 shots in my neck of Botox to kill the nerves, or I'd be disabled basically. So, it's like, it's things like that come along in life that make things challenging. But, with that said, I'm a 4-time hiker of Half Dome. Have you ever seen Half Dome?
I've seen pictures. My son-in-law's brother did that.
Okay.
A couple years ago, and wow, that's quite the challenge.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool story. So in 1995, my wife and I did a trip with my parents. We were living in Pennsylvania. We flew out to Seattle and did a 17-day trip down the coast of California. We stopped in Yosemite, and I remember we were at an overlook and we were looking at Half Dome, and I was like, it looks like people are climbing up there, off in the distance. And so we were looking at that with our binoculars, and we were like, people are holding on to cables climbing up to the top of that thing. And I was like, Dad, you and I are coming back and doing this. He was like, no way. So 10 years later, we went to Yosemite as a family, and I got to climb to the top Half Dome with my dad, my brother, and his oldest son. And that was the first time. So that was cool. A couple years later, we did it again, and I got to do it with my son. And then just a couple years ago, my daughter and I backpacked to the top of Half Dome. And last year, I did it with my wife. So
Nice.
I've been able to do it 4 times. And
That's
so
impressive.
It's back to, everybody's got things they're dealing with, but you got to keep fighting, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's harder to fight than others, but that fight is worth it, right? So I'm also trying to treat naturally and move the needle on Parkinson's treatment. I'm doing pretty good for this far in, but back to challenges. Every morning I wake up, I can't walk. I got to get medicine in me, or I can't even move.
Wow.
And so, it's been a big challenge for me.
Sure. Wow. How have you dealt with that though? Like the mental, because it's not just the physical challenges; it's also the mental and emotional.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that and keep your, that positive attitude about things?
It's like listening to your podcast. It's that equation, right? It's you got to decide. There's things within your control and things without. I don't know if anybody's ever done Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but one of the talking points there is there's things in life that are out of your control, and there's things in your life that are in your control. I can't stop the fact that I have Parkinson's, but I can affect the attitude I have about life within that framework. And I just choose to get up and manage it and have the best attitude. And I think that's one of the things I would say I'm known for is no matter what the challenge is, I try to face it with a positive outlook.
Wow, I love that. Well, again, we mentioned earlier, you like to have a plan. Are you a guy that kind of plans out your day? Do you have like a morning routine, that kind of thing?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I had started a consulting company called The Plan Maker. And I would go into organizations and help them develop strategic plans and implement them. I did it for both ministry-based organizations and businesses. And so, to me, I always look at if you're entering a Saturday, you're going to get more done if you plan out what you want to do rather than wing it through the day. So I'm big on being strategic that way, and I think you get more out of life by doing that. So every day, basically, my start of my day is getting myself moving, right? And getting my mind right. And then, there's a lot of challenges at work. Being a CEO, running a company, I'm sure you know this, it's challenging, and you're the one who's got to solve the challenges every day. So it's really getting in the mindset that we're going to make the most of the day and solve problems with a positive attitude.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned off air, I thought I'd bring it up now, that you used to be a pastor.
Yeah. I was
Talk about that.
I was an executive pastor at a local church here for a couple of years, and I spent a lot of time helping ministries all over the country. Yeah. I would speak and lead them in planning sessions all over the country. So I've had a passion, Todd, not different than yours. It's like I'm still trying to find the exact place for me that can make the biggest impact. Yeah. I want a legacy for myself that says people's lives were better or impacted because of things I was involved with, right? So I'm constantly looking for that path that allows me to help people, just like you.
Oh, I love that. And obviously that's a big, probably which also helped grow your faith, which also helped you through these challenges, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I don't know how to say it it's like my hope is in God, and I trust in him for all things. And I feel like, he's got this under control, and I can trust him. And so that's where I put my hope and faith for the future.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate you, being willing to talk about that kind of stuff. Well, why don't we jump forward? I know we're going to jump forward a little bit, but, you're the CEO of Micro Plus, and it's an amazing company. You're doing great things. For those who obviously don't know anything about it, tell us about what that is and how this got started and why you're involved in this.
Okay. Well, I was brought over to run the company a couple years ago, and the concept here is, I don't know if your listeners ever heard of nano, but nano has been around for a while in the pharmaceutical world. It was actually in the COVID vaccine, but what it means is just 0 to the 9th power, very small. And so what we do is take nutritional supplements and break them down into very tiny particles. So it's a much more effective delivery system to get needed nutrients into your system. So that's what we're trying to do. Is we're about to launch 3 new items. We're in the early phases of getting the launch going, and we have like a vitamin D3, K2. That the whole goal here is to get more nutrients into your system where it belongs. When you take a tablet or a capsule, a lot of that goes through your system and through your digestive system and out, and doesn't get where it needs to be. Ours is in liquid form, and it absorbs almost instantly towards right into your cells where it needs to make the impact.
Yeah. So again, you're obviously passionate about helping people, and this is part of that passion, if you will. Would you say that the things you've been through with all these challenges, even going back to your childhood where you had this belief that maybe you just weren't good enough, you wouldn't measure up, but then here you are now, you've dealt with some challenges, Parkinson's being a big one, obviously. Has that helped you kind of fuel a passion to doing what you're doing there at Micro Plus?
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of like, I feel like when you look at your cause, you're dealing with a lot of the mind stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have it up on your board here. People need to recognize there's nothing wrong with them, right? That's a mental thing, but there's a physical aspect to health as well, which I'm coming in from that angle and trying to help people. Look, there's people walking around really deficient in vitamin D, and it's affecting their life. And if we can help them get their vitamin D levels where it belongs, we can hit the healthier life from a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
So I'm passionate about that. We've got lots of new products we're coming out with, and we just feel like it's going to be a game changer for people's health moving forward.
Yeah. This is a more vulnerable question, but do you have any fears about, leading MicroPlus with your current situation with Parkinson's? Does some doubts come into your mind? Just curious.
That's a tough question, Todd.
I know.
I think about this all the time, and I ask my friends to let me know. The one thing that is cool about where I'm at, I feel like my mind is sharper than ever, right? My body's getting beaten up a little bit with Parkinson's, but from leading the company forward and the mental capacity, I feel like I'm as strong as ever. So I don't have a fear from that standpoint. And I've been a leader for a long time. I have just a gift at driving things forward, solving problems and moving them. So I'm pretty confident at this stage. Now
Sure.
Things could change,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty confident at this stage on driving that ship forward.
Yeah. Well, again, you seem like a very driven person. Is there people that you lean on for guidance? It could be even a book you've read, or do you have like these, I often will say, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That's how I am where I am today. Who are the giants in your life?
Yeah, another great question. Well, I would say a hero in my life is a friend of mine. His name's Randall Autry. And little backstory on this.
Please.
When I was pastoring, I ran I was running a in-home study called Radical. If anybody ever wants to read a challenging book, David Platt's book Radical changed my life. And so as we were engaging in this study, my wife and I, it's all about living radically, right? And some of the things that happened because of this book, there were people that sold their homes and moved into broken communities, literally to try and restore those communities. There was radical things happening. My wife and I were going to adopt reading this, and it never panned out. But my friend Randall and his wife Tracy, they had 5 kids already, and out of this study, they ended up adopting 4 kids from Ethiopia. So now they have 9 kids.
Wow.
The mother died at childbirth, and so they flew over there and brought these kids back, and they're now entering the college stage. And just, watching them sacrifice like that for these kids is motivating for me. And to know that I had just a tiny part in that is back to the legacy I want to leave, the footprint that I want to leave here someday. So people like that share my faith, they're in my circles. They have an impact on me. We just had breakfast the other day, and just running ideas by them. How's life going? I think you need that community around you. And then on the work side, I've got some mentors that I lean on as well. It's important because by yourself you're only so good, but when you surround yourself with giants, like you were saying, that's where everything gets elevated to a whole nother level.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that was a great answer. Thank you for sharing that. I think, anyone listening to this who's, maybe in a bad place too, they're struggling, man. There's people out there that are willing to help, and it's okay to lean on them when you especially in times of need. But even when things are going well, I still have to reach out to people and ask them advice and questions. And, sometimes I'll read it in a book, or I'll hear it in a podcast, or I'll watch a YouTube video of this person who said this. And I'm like, man, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. And it's going to be helpful for me to move forward.
Yeah. it's challenging and it's lonely, especially when you're leading something. I'm sure you feel like this too. It's like you're expected to lead all this, right? And you have all the answers, right, is the impression. But, man, we need help. As a CEO, everybody comes to you with their problems.
Yeah.
And having people you can talk to. I'm working with one of the other owners. His name is Eric, and I tell him all the time, just to be able to talk and bounce ideas off is enormous for me. So, surrounding yourself with both, people that share your common faith and people who have expertise that you can tap into, to me, is absolutely critical.
That's amazing. I'm just curious, have you ever read the book, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren?
I have.
I think maybe we talked about that last time.
I think we did, yeah.
But yeah, what a great book, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you haven't read the book, because at one time that was the best-selling book in history.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that, of all the books. But what I love about that book is how, it's not necessarily trying to convert me to go to church or this or that. It's more about connecting with God.
Right.
And why am I here? What's the whole point? And boy, it spells it out so beautifully. Rick does such a great job of just spelling out, this is why you're here.
Right.
Challenges and all, like you were saying earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. And everybody, it applies to everybody, right? Yeah. It's like everybody has a purpose. That's the cool thing.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out that there's nothing wrong with you, that's the beginning of the journey of figuring out what your purpose is, right?
Yeah.
If you're living at a stage where you're broken and you're self-reflecting and beating yourself up, it's hard to get to that next phase of focusing on what your true purpose is.
BeliefCast listeners, we are so excited to bring on a new sponsor, MicroPlus, who is launching a brand new line of nano-nutritional supplements. I wanted to tell you about an incredible offer Dave is giving our listeners. Go to microplus.com and purchase their immunity pack. And at the checkout, enter discount code BeliefCast to get an amazing 50% off plus free shipping. This is a perfect time to try these critical products so you can stay healthy throughout the fall flu season. In addition, 10% off all sales will go to support the BeliefCast. We both want to see people live longer, healthier lives. Yeah, I love that. So you and I obviously were introduced by our good friend
Sean.
Pratt.
Sean.
I'm going to call him Pratt. My best friend since freaking, right at the beginning of junior high. Anyway, great person. I love him so much. Crazy person too. Like, man, I got some stories. I wish I could share them on here.
I was listening to
probably
the earring story.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That was fun.
We've had some great times. But he introduced you and I together to each other, and I really do respect everything you do. I know he speaks the world of you, obviously, but it's been interesting since we decided to have you on the show. I do this with all my guests. I research them. I try to get to learn more about them. And the more I learn about you, it's like the more I appreciate you. And I really mean that. I heard a quote once that said, be curious and not judgmental. Because if we're curious, we'll ask a lot of questions.
Right.
If we're judgmental, we just judge and then we move on.
Mm-hmm.
We've already made our judgment. We don't care. But when we ask questions, we get to know someone. That's why I love doing this podcast, because I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, and you're really gifted at it, by the way.
Thank you. And the more I get to know you, even today in this podcast, it's like, man, the more I respect, especially knowing that you're dealing with Parkinson's, and here you are going on these hikes, these tough Half Dome. I mean, that's no joke. That's not an easy thing to do. And running your own company, that's not an easy thing to do. And people would look at you and go, oh man, he's got it great. But little do they know, I can't get out of bed in the morning unless I have this medication. I've got to go through all these rituals just in order for me to walk. It blows my mind. So I just want you to know, man, I have more respect for you just sitting here talking to you than I did before. And like I said, you're a great guy, and Pratt, confirmed that with me.
Well, thanks, Todd. But
I mean that.
I think this is an important topic to bring up, right? I feel like there's a facade or a fakeness in relationships. Don't you get the sense everybody's doing great out there on the surface?
Yeah.
But when you dig and start peeling the onion back, right? we're all struggling with things. And I had a friend who died of Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh, man.
But the coolest thing about that was he had a smile on his face up until the end. And what little he could control, he made an impact on people, right? So no matter what your circumstance, serious, it's I call it the map for the future, right? The M in map is the mind. You got to start with the mind, right? You got to you got to take your situation and your mind's got to be set that you're going to make the most of whatever it is, right? Then it's your attitude, right? And to me, this is where I want to be known, and people will say this about me. No matter what you're facing, Dave, you're always happy and smiling, and I want to be known for that kind of attitude. But the third thing then is the purpose. And I think finding your purpose in life is so critical. It's not easy either, because I consider myself at almost 60 years old still searching for the fullness of my purpose, right? Yeah. But that having it's like when you have Half Dome on your schedule and you're looking forward to it, right? Yeah. You have something out there driving you, and that's back to planning. To me, if you don't have anything out there that you're trying to accomplish, it's a lot harder to get motivated, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, I love that. And it reminded me of two quotes. We're talking about the power of the mind, and you're talking about purpose. The power of the mind, I got this out of the Bhagavad Gita. It says, "For the one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for the one who has failed to do so, the mind will be his greatest enemy."
I would love for you to send me that quote.
I'll send you that. Isn't that just spot on? Because
that is spot on.
Because, and I agree with you, it starts with our mind. We got to learn to control our thinking, because if not, our thinking controls us.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing, I think it was Mark Twain that said the two most important days of a person's life is the day they were born and the day they found out why. Again, that purpose you're talking about.
Right.
And I couldn't agree more. As if we can learn to control our thinking to the best that we can. It's never perfect, because it's challenging. But then also knowing, why are you here? Again, it was important that we were born, because here we are. Now why? Why are we even here? If we can figure that out, right? It just that's when power, and that's when you become a force. That's when you become someone who's making a difference. Where people, like you said, leaving that legacy, people are going to remember that.
Right. It's interesting you say that too, because I think people think Todd Sylvester is just doing this. This is what he always has done. But I mean, I listened to your story. It's like everybody has the journey they got to go through and the struggles they got to overcome. It doesn't just happen overnight, right? So that it's an ongoing thing, and people need to be more real with each other, I think, and help you through these things that life brings you. But
couldn't agree more. No, I couldn't agree more. Well, you're an amazing individual. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing at Micro Plus. We have some news to share today between you and I. I'm going to turn that over to you if you don't mind.
Yeah, not at all. I'm really excited. So when I got to know Todd, right away, I was like, I want to be part of this. So we decided that we're going to sponsor BeliefCast. And so we want to join in on this cause, because what you're doing is incredible, Todd.
Thank you.
And like being part of it is humbling. Just being on the show is humbling. So thank you again for having me. But we are about to launch 3 products. It's going to be a vitamin C and zinc, a D3K2, and a mushroom. And we're going to give your listeners a big discount. So at checkout, if they enter the code BeliefCast, they're going to get a big discount. And plus, we're going to give 10% of everything we sell to your cause. And hopefully that helps you further this even to a whole new level.
No, that's amazing. And thank you. It's an honor to have you on board. I look at my current sponsors, and then you being a part of that, they're all in it for the cause, if you will. They're in it because I've had people, Dave, reach out to me and say, "Hey, you had so-and-so on your podcast. That podcast saved my life. That person's story saved my life." And I'm going, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And so to have you on board means the world to me. I hope you know that. And I'm grateful for that. And but at the same time, I also believe in what you're doing with your company and your products. They're top of the line products. They're healthy for you. They're good for you. They work. I wouldn't attach myself to something that's not proven like like what you guys do there. So, and again, this is cool. So thank you for being one of my sponsors now. That means a lot.
Absolutely. And I would encourage people, how many podcasts do you have out there?
We've done 391, I think, 92. We're right up there, almost to 400.
Congratulations. But I mean, I encourage people to listen to them, because I listened to them to get to know you a little bit better, and then I got hooked. It's like these stories are incredible,
amazing,
and it made me feel like, well, my story is
no.
But it's back to everybody has a story.
Yep.
But listening to the stories is a motivation, right? You connect to what people are going through, and it's back to the point. People didn't get to the point they're at overnight. There was a journey there, and struggles, and the things they had to overcome. But that's the name of the game, right? Is fighting to overcome that stuff, so you can make a difference in this world. But yeah, thank you. Couldn't be prouder to be part of what you're doing.
Great, thank you. So if someone wants to look at your products and maybe order some of these, especially these new ones you're launching, where do they go to do that?
Okay, they would log on to microplushealth.com. So it's all together, microplushealth.com. And we are actually taking pre-orders. We're going to be shipping out in September, but I encourage people to get their orders in as a pre-order, and we'll have on our website the date that they'll actually start shipping.
Okay, great. And again, code, you put in BeliefCast, they'll get a discount. And then
10% on top of that will go to your BeliefCast.
Well, that's amazing. Very cool. Well, I'll put that link in the show notes, so when we go live, they can just click on the link, go right there. I'm assuming they can also contact you, ask you any questions, maybe about the product, things like that.
Absolutely. There's one of the links on there is they can put any questions that they have, and we'll get back to them right away.
Awesome.
So yeah, if they want to learn more about the technology, I actually will give Todd some information on our products and technology. So just reach out to us and we'll take good care of you.
Very cool. I love it. One last question for you. If there's someone listening to you right now, Dave, who's in a dark place and they're struggling, what would you tell that one person right now?
Don't give up. I would say, try to force yourself and practice the working on your mind, starting with just say to yourself, I am of value. I have purpose, right? You got to conquer the mind first, in my opinion. And you're telling yourself wrong things. Resist telling yourself those negative things. And ultimately, I would say seek out faith in God. Because for me, my entire purpose boils down to ultimate faith in God. So that's what gives me peace for the future and confidence in the future is my faith.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you.
Love that. Great advice for anyone struggling. And as you know, guys, I say this all the time. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone you know. Reach out to me. Reach out to Dave. We'll do whatever we can to help you. But that's great advice. I couldn't agree more. Conquering the mind, that was my biggest challenge. I'll often say I didn't have an anxiety problem, depression problem, alcohol problem, drug problem. I had a thinking problem. And when I changed my thinking, all that other stuff was the drugs and the alcohol went away. The anxiety and depression I was able to control and manage in such a really powerful way. So
would you mind if I ask, what was your trigger? What shifted you from that bad mindset to thinking better?
Wow, that's a long, I think I have a long answer to that one. Great question. I mean, again, I was just like you. I had a really rough upbringing with just in my own mind. I mean, my upbringing was great family-wise, but just what I told myself, that narrative was vicious, man. I hated who I was. I hated everything about me, and which fueled the drugs and the alcohol and it will. There's a lot of things that happen, but I'll share this part because we're talking about the mind. My dad handed me a book. It's actually on the very top of that stack over there. It's As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And he handed it to me, and I put it on the bookshelf, forgot about it. And then as I started kind of turning my life around a little bit, I pulled that book off the shelf and I started reading this book, and I was blown away. And there was a paragraph in that book that changed my life in that moment. And here's what it is. I put it to my memory. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul that's been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening and fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that you are the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. There's nothing more gladdening and fruitful than that. And I read that. I went, oh, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of molding my character, shaping my condition, and controlling my thoughts. And for whatever reason, that's what I needed to hear in that moment. I'm like, that's my problem. My thoughts are all over the place, and they're negative, and I just want to be dead sometimes. It's not all the time back then. When I started learning and cultivating, and I read that book every day still. I've been reading it for 25 years now. It's amazing. James Allen's one of those giants in my life. So that was a turning point, at least when it came to starting to understand how powerful thoughts are, and that they really do make a difference in whether I'm happy or whether I want to destroy myself. So that was a turning point.
That's an awesome story. And I just think that is so important with the people you're working with, right? They got to understand their mind is lying to them, right? For sure. And they got to get past that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me be part of your podcast. Well, guys, there you go. Dave Phillippy. It's a cool last name, by the way. I think that's really cool. The CEO of Micro Plus. Please click on the link, check out his company, ask him questions. It'd be great if you even got some of these products because they're good for your overall health. And again, I'm grateful to have them on as a sponsor. It really is an honor. And I just love you guys for tuning in week after week. Please share this with your family and friends, this episode, because they'll learn a lot from it. They'll learn a lot from Dave and his experiences. So anyway, love you guys. And Dave, thanks for everything. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and keep up what you're doing. You made an impact on me already. And so I think I'd like to encourage you to just be encouraged. Lives are being affected for you. So thank you, Todd.